Hi Year 5s and welcome to our second lesson in this unit of Beowulf. And today we are going to be looking at using verb adverb openers in our character description of the monster Grendel. Now if you remember from yesterday's video, you were looking at the story of Beowulf, and you can remember that Beowulf was the hero of this story. He is a Viking warrior, and he has travelled over to Denmark to help King Hrothgar, who has this big problem of Grendel. And Grendel, the monster here, is he hates happiness, he hates celebration, and so every night he goes to the mead hall and he slaughters the lords that are sleeping there. He is currently terrorizing the people in this hall, and Beowulf has gone over there to help sort the problem out. So we're going to be looking at developing our vocabulary today to talk about Grendel, and also using verb adverb openers to help build on our sentences and to keep our reader engaged. So let's have a look at some verb adverb sentence starters. First of all, let's remind ourselves of what a verb is. So a verb is a word that shows actions, isn't it? So it can be physical or mental. An adverb modifies the verb. So if I have a look at this example here, it says, he lumbered clumsily. So lumbered is the verb and clumsily is the adverb. He lumbered clumsily between buildings of the town. So it's a nice way of putting in some character description at the beginning of my sentence, describing how he is moving before I describe what he is doing. The next one here, he shrieked piercingly. So shrieked is the action, it's the verb, and piercingly tells me how he does it. He shrieked piercingly into the night. He clawed menacingly at his victim's body. So I've had a go at doing my own examples to describe the monster's movement. And you can see here I've got my verb and adverb opener. He lurched heavily through the doorway, throwing the heavy wooden door off its hinges. Have a go using these sentence starters here on your piece of paper, and see if you can then finish off the sentence with your own ideas. So he lumbered clumsily, for example, towards the mead hall. So using these three sentence starters, 1, 2, 3, see if you can then finish the sentence on your piece of paper. So we've had a go at describing his movement. Let's now have a look at thinking about how to describe his appearance. So we've got here our verb and adverb again. So smirking is the verb, and adverb tells us how he is smirking or smiling. His mouth smirking sarcastically. His eyes staring, so staring is the verb, and wildly is the adverb. His eyes staring wildly as he devoured his next victim. And I've done my own one here talking about his mouth. His mouth grinning wildly, he battered down the door with an iron fist. So again, using these three sentence starters here, could you have a go at describing his eyes, his legs, and his teeth? Do that now on your piece of paper. And here are some ideas that I have come up with. His eyes piercing ominously, he massacred the sleeping lords. His legs contorted unnaturally. Contorted means twisted and bent, doesn't it? Held his colossal frame. His teeth glared threateningly in his cavernous mouth. And cavernous means very big, doesn't it? So that's quite a nice word to use, his cavernous mouth. So we can use verb and adverb sentence starters to help us pack in as much description as possible about the character before we then describe his actions, describe what he is doing. And it's quite an effective way of being able to do that at the beginning of this sentence in order to keep our reader engaged and help our reader to come up with this image of the monster in their minds. So your next activity now, we're going to be focusing on developing our vocabulary to describe this monster. So we are going to think about some words to describe his movement, some words to describe his appearance, and some words to describe his personality and attitude. So the question is, how does he behave? So you're going to have a look at this picture and you are going to think about words that you could use to describe him under these three headings. So movement, appearance, personality, and attitude. So on your piece of paper, could you pause your video and see if you can now write down some ideas of vocabulary that you could use to describe Grendel the monster. Pause your video now. Okay, and so you may now want to have a look at the up-level vocabulary. I have used the word deranged here. Now, deranged has the same meaning as mad. Grotesque is a lovely word, and the synonym of grotesque would be disgusting. Loathsome as well is a nice word to use, and that is the same as hateful. Malicious is the same as spiteful. So let's see if I can use any of this up-level vocabulary to put it into my own ideas. So I'm going to use, I think, the word malicious, and I'm going to put that here, I think, to describe his eyes. So malicious means the same as spiteful, doesn't it? His eyes dark, like, I could say something at the beginning here. His malicious eyes were dark like the gates of hell. Nice. His malicious eyes. It just gives a bit more description to the reader. What about here now? I've used the word grotesque here to describe his contorted body. So his contorted, grotesque body. Again, it's a nice way to build up your list of adjectives to describe this creature. Have a go on your notes to see if you can up-level any of your descriptions by using this up-level vocabulary now. Do that now on your piece of paper. Okay, and your last activity is to see if you can use your notes here to make some sentences. And you are going to have a look at these three areas here. So your task for today will be to use your notes, see if you can use your up-leveled vocabulary as well, to write some sentences under these headings. And so I've got some examples here. This hellish monster was taller than any building and wider than any door frame. And to describe his movement, in a frenzy of hate, it gorged on the sleeping lords. Personality and attitude, this manifestation of wickedness was motivated first by bloodlust and senseless slaughter. So for your task today, on a piece of paper or on the Teams document, Word document, you are going to write me some sentences under these three headings. So appearance, movement, and personality and attitude. See if you can use any of the vocabulary that we have spoken about today, and also see if you can use any of those sentence starters those verb and adverb sentence starters. So some sentences under the following categories to describe the monster Grendel. And I look forward to reading your work.